Awesome. It's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Rich Weinstein. He is currently the Senior Vice President and the Group Account Director at the Martin Agency in Richmond. During his time at the Martin Agency, he's worked on accounts such as Comcast, Haynes, Oreos, and most recently TracFone Wireless and Benjamin Moore, as we'll see. Before relocating to Richmond, he ran the account management department and ESPN account at Weinstein Kennedy. In the past, he's also had the rare opportunity to work on brands within both the Pepsi-Cola and Coca-Cola families. Upon his arrival to the Martin Agency in May of 2010, he brought two core principles with him. First being a belief in the power of a brand, and secondly, a philosophy that creativity wins. So with that, please join me in welcoming our next speaker, Rich Weinstein.
Thank you. So I may walk around a little bit, so I may not be using this mic. If you can't hear me, just let me know. Is there anybody from Boston or New England here? You're gonna love this presentation. Is there anybody from New York who's a Yankee fan here? You're gonna hate this presentation. Title slide kind of sets things up. I graduated in 91. I now work at Martin, as you heard. And one of the accounts I run is Benjamin Moore. It's a high-end premium paint company. So I'm going to take you on a little journey on something that we did for them. But before we do that, I just want to tell you a little bit about me and kind of how I got from here in Lexington to where I am now. And the one thing I should actually say also in revealing a little bit about me, I'm talking to you about paints. I am colorblind, terribly colorblind. So if anybody wants to talk about interior design, I'm the wrong person for that. I left Lexington, Lex Vegas. I love when I can put that actually on a slide. And I went back to Baltimore after college. I didn't know what to do. My mom worked in fundraising. I got a job with a nonprofit in marketing, then got a job in PR through a family friend, got exposed to advertising, worked for an agency, kind of thought it was something I wanted to do. Went to San Francisco, worked there for about 7 years at a couple agencies, really understood what advertising was all about, kind of cut my teeth. Met my wife there. She's from Ireland. She thought San Francisco was too far from home. We weren't married yet. I've said this before to students. Follow your heart. I did the right thing. I got closer to Dublin. I moved to New York with my then girlfriend, now wife, who's here with my kids walking around Lexington right now. Worked at an agency called Weinstein Kennedy, as you heard, for about 6 years with what a lot of people think is a dream job as a sports fan running ESPN. But once again, family kind of made sense, and I had a chance to move to Richmond. So I didn't plan any of this. I didn't know what advertising was. I wasn't lucky enough to be in a situation like you guys where you have these really brilliant conferences. But I still got lucky enough to land where I am. So I'm going to talk to you about this case for Benjamin Moore. I'm going to, like I said, take in a little journey on what we did, show you why we did it, how we did it. But there's one thing I want you to remember kind of throughout, and it's going to go against everything you've learned growing up from your parents and from school. And I'm going to talk to you about how good it is to break the rules. This project that I'm going to talk to you about is not something we were asked to do. It's something the agency decided to do. We invested our own money. We went to the client who had lots of other objectives, and we said this is what we want to do. And here's why it's good. It's good for business. And at the end, I'll show you some results, and you'll have a sense of why it was good for their business. It's good for creativity. You've heard a lot of people talk about the importance of creativity. You heard that's kind of a core belief that I had. But sometimes when you break the rules, you get the best creative product out there. And frankly, it makes your job a hell of a lot more fun. So that's kind of what I want you to take away before I jump into to this story. We had an assignment. We had actually gotten it when we first won the business. I wasn't on the account. Benjamin Moore is the official paint of the Boston Red Sox. Not terribly interesting or exciting, or at least at face value. And we were asked to make a print ad in a program that's going to be sold at Fenway Park and signage behind home plate. I had just come on the account. Like I said, we had done this the year before. I'm a pretty big sports fan. I'm an Oriole fan. I'm from Baltimore, but still appreciate the Red Sox. And while I am colorblind, as I said earlier, I looked at the brief and I said, hold on, you're telling me that the green monster, which is the wall at Fenway Park, for those of you that aren't baseball fans, it's kind of, it's the altar at which certainly Red Sox fans would pray. I mean, Fenway Park is kind of legendary. But you're telling me the green monster, the most iconic wall in sports, is painted with the paint with the brand that we have. There's a huge opportunity there. So we decided that while this was what we were being asked to do, there was a much bigger opportunity. And we wanted to, nice buzzword, activate that sponsorship. I realize I'm kind of probably in the way here. We also got selfish, and that was breaking one of the rules as well. And that was, let's do something for us. Let's do something that's going to help the client, but let's do something for us and do some award-winning work. So we came up with a really basic idea. These days, every idea has to have a hashtag in front of it, so it was Monster Everywhere. And the idea was really simple. As the official paint, they paint the green monster. That's pretty awesome. But what's more important is now you can buy the paint that's used to paint the green monster on your house. Inside your house, outside your house. You'll kind of see how we did that. That's when things started to get really interesting. It was a really simple idea. You can take the green monster now and you can bring it anywhere. We also thought it was really important to sell this idea in to put an altruistic and a philanthropic element. So what we said was, for every can of paint that's sold, we're going to actually do something where we're going to benefit the community. And we're going to have Little League fields around Boston be able to benefit from this. The real issue was, originally, it was just a color that made them the official paint. They didn't have anything that said they were the official paint other than a little logo. And this is where things started to get more interesting. The easy part was coming up with the idea, kind of coming up with the product. The hard part was actually bringing it to life. So what we wanted to do was first create a label. We actually named it first. We called it the Fenway Collection. We had to deal with Major League Baseball. I would need about 5 hours to just start to get into that conversation. It was filled with legal challenges. But the first thing we did is we created a label, and it was grounded in that Boston Red Sox font, the B. We called it the Green Monster. Originally, the paint was called Balsa Green, not very interesting or exciting. The next thing we did is we had to sell it into their retailers. Benjamin Moore has a really challenging distribution system. It's not sold through Home Depot or Lowe's. It's sold through independent dealers who weigh very heavily on decisions that are made. Think of it kind of like the beer industry with the distributors that sell in. So we had to make signage for them and help them understand what this would be. Not a big deal, but a little bit more challenging. Not what we wanted to do. What we wanted to do was really make a campaign, and a really integrated campaign. And these are some screenshots, and I'll get into this in a little bit more. So it was a great opportunity to kind of do something interesting, and now the pressure was on us to figure out how to do that. Originally, what we thought we were making, what I thought I'd do now is just kind of quickly show you the scripts that we presented after we kind of sold in the idea. You're not going to be able to read what's on the screen, but I feel like in these case studies, you always see what happens afterwards, kind of deconstruct things and show you what happened early on in the process. So we had a script called Surprise, and it was this idea of we were going to surprise these kids. We were going to paint their Little League stadium. We're going to renovate it, surprise them, and there would be that nice warm and fuzzy feeling from an altruistic standpoint. And then there's this bigger idea of kind of something that's a little bit bigger. We were called it Bring It. We kind of flip-flopped these and what we wound up doing, and I'm going to show you the different elements, or at least a few key pieces of the different elements to the campaign. So the first one is the spot that we actually used to basically launch this whole idea in New England. And again, I can't emphasize enough for those of you that aren't from New England or baseball fans, it's called Red Sox Nation for a reason. It's fervent, passionate fans. They spread well beyond just the Boston metropolitan area. And we had to do something that was going to get their attention. Sorry, I actually jumped the gun. So we actually wound up making the full line. Here's the Fenway Collection. This was actually shot at Fenway. We learned that we were going to have 20 minutes on the grass. It was unbelievable, the amount of time and attention that goes just onto the field. So we had to get this shot very quickly. This is just the lineup. This shows you kind of what we created. This ultimately was the product. We weren't asked to create a product. We were asked to create, again, a print ad. And then we launched it with a TV spot.
Fenway Collection for Benjamin Moore. Visit monstereverywhere.com to find the store nearest you.
So that kind of launched things, but not a ton of TV weight behind it, not a big budget. Again, it wasn't something they asked us to do, so they had to find money for it. What we wanted to do is make sure we could actually get more information out there and kind of spread it. So there was a video, longer form content to explain the program, and that's the next thing that we did.
Fans love it. Opponents fear it. We paint it. The Green Monster. The most famous wall in all of baseball. Now the same paint we use on the Green Monster is available for fans everywhere. For each gallon you buy, we'll help renovate local ballparks. Bringing the spirit of Fenway to where it matters most. Visit monstereverywhere.com for the store nearest you.
So we have a bunch of content. We got to place it somewhere. We actually have to sell some paint as well. So obviously we created a site. And where it started to get interesting was we realized we had an opportunity to create a lot of content. And once that content got out there, if the Red Sox Nation starts to share it, then we can actually start to sell a lot of paint. So obviously there's going to be more content. I'm going to show you 3 little kind of mini documentaries that we created that were all shot as part of the filming of this. And you'll start to get a sense of where this started to go.
Our life started and the curse ended.
Yeah.
I work in this game. This is my 24th season of Fenway Park. In a concession stand in the bleachers, we worked together until
Yeah.
we met. It was during the 04 playoffs, the ALCS against the Yankees. They were down 3 games to none, whether they won or lost. This was going to be the game. They were winning, they were losing, could not have been less stressful. When David Ortiz had that home run, I would think I was probably the happiest guy in the park. Even though there was 39,000 people that would jump for joy, I had to be the happiest guy in the park. We were standing in front of the Green Monster.
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
Next thing you know, a huge round of applause. We look up and there's a whole bunch of people out in the right field corner that had watched it. And I wasn't anticipating. They never lost another game. They won the next 3 straight and then swept the World Series. So that's our little.
That we were the reverse the curse.
That was our reverse the curse story. Yeah, our lives started at Fenway Park. We really took the big step forward in front of the Green Monster. It happened in our house in Austin. So.
Yeah, it's perfect on that wall too.
It is
The bats and balls.
Yeah.
My wife would never have let me paint anything like that. So you saw these guys earlier, but just give you a little more context on who they are.
I've been here probably since 73 or something.
92 for me, I got 22 years.
It's nice, especially years ago, you walk in here, it's wow, I'm painting Fenway Park.
We take great pride in trying to get this place ready and looking real good for the camp. I remember walking up the ramp, and I think it's either 63 or 64 with my father. And you see the green grass and the green wall, and it's just embedded in your brain forever. A lot of people approach us all the time. They want to paint a Green Monster wall in their backyard or a wall in their bedroom. It's a very common request. On the Green Monster, we use Benjamin Moore paint. We've used that for years.
And then just to highlight how sports kind of crosses all boundaries, doesn't matter ethnicity or income level. We wanted to get into another aspect of the Red Sox Nation.
Desde que vine el primer día a trabajar en Salsilla y todavía no veía, vino Pedro, David, y ahí me introdujeron a pasado. Y ahí estoy. Pero allá en la República, si nace varón, dice, este va a ser pelotero. Me gustaba tanto la pelota que estoy trabajando con ellos mismos, con un grande liga. Ahí me puso un poco nervioso, pero después, ellos son bien humildes. Desde que yo llego me hacen una bulla y crujado, si hay otro, pregunta por mí, yo ya son como todos. No, Napoli es un hombre extremadamente enfermo con esa barra. Por eso siempre lo hace conmigo, por enfermo, que tú sales blow, Yo le pregunté a Napoli, si te dan $1 millón, te lo dice, never, nothing. Aquí somos todos fanáticos de eso. No, importancia, ¿no? Pero el juego empieza a las 4. Ya a las 3:45 ya la televisión está encendida. Cortando y mirando el juego, un poco difícil. Yo soy pegado de que si es perdiendo o ganando, yo soy Es que yo lo llevo en la sangre.
So those were documentaries we created when we shot everything up in Boston, outside of the city. We realized that to start to get this to really start to spread like wildfire, we needed something that was going to create a little bit of tension. And we wanted to bring the idea into the real world. There's no better place than to try and stoke some tension with Red Sox fans than in New York. So we decided to build a little Fenway Park, a little green monster in Lower Manhattan. And this is what we did.
Let's go, Red Sox. Let's go, Red Sox. Turn around, look at me. Yeah, I'm here. I'm the Green Monster.
What are you doing here in New York?
Driving people crazy.
You're in the wrong city, buddy.
Hashtag I don't care.
Holiday for you here
Right.
in this city.
Can I spit on you?
I dare you. I know. Yeah. Maybe you should do your bedroom in Green Monster. Would you like that? I could come over. Those dog pee on me. Guys, get out of here. What do you think when I say the words 2004?
2004.
Say it. Say it.
I can't.
You choking on a pretzel?
Hit it. That's what the wall likes. You got it. Oh, great, good. Hey, listen. If I can make it here, I can make it anywhere.
You should go back to Boston.
Take care of you. All right. 2004.
So that was Lenny Clark. He's a stand-up comic, kind of classic Boston guy. He was actually in Rescue Me, if anybody watched that show. And so he's behind the wall, and he was doing all that. It was great. So all of that, those were things that nobody asked us to do, and each time we kept pushing the envelope. We broke the rules with Major League Baseball. We weren't supposed to do what we did. The client really didn't want us to do anything in New York. They're based outside of New York. They have tons of dealers in New York. The last thing they want to do was piss off those dealers. But we realized we needed to do something that was actually going to start to make a difference. Well, it did make a difference. I just want to quickly kind of top line some results for you. First and foremost, I talked about that independent channel of retailers they have. If they're not excited about what's going on, paint doesn't sell. If we can't get it on the shelf, it can't come off the shelf. So we got them really excited in the New England area, but it also gave the retailers everywhere else a sense that there was a commitment from the company. It also renewed confidence in marketing. We had picked up the business when marketing was at kind of an all-time low. It's a manufacturing-driven company and a sales-driven company, so it was important for marketing to get a little bit of juice. And while they were reluctant to embrace the idea, once they saw where it could go and that it was going to help them, they had a totally different perspective. We wound up getting incremental dollars. The management of the company saw this was the right thing to do, and those dollars obviously helped, and they helped with some really nice sell-through. So in New England, which had gotten hit with a really bad winter last year, if you remember, this was a huge, huge help. So those were kind of business and kind of company-related results. Like I said, we were a little selfish in this, and I think that's okay. That's a rule I think is important to follow as well. So, little snippets of some trade press, and then last year we went to Cannes in the south of France, which is where we all want to go. And we won what's called a silver titanium lion. Titanium is an integrated project opposed to a television commercial or something very specific. There were no golds, so that's the equivalent of us kind of winning an Oscar. And it was a pretty huge deal for our company, our people. It helps us recruit people. The last result that I like to highlight is a conversation I had with the CEO after it was over, when we found out we actually didn't hit the sales goals that they had hoped after the program got started. So this guy, Mike Searles, great guy, reports into Warren Buffett. Benjamin Moore is a Berkshire Hathaway company, so to be able to talk to somebody whose boss is Warren Buffett's pretty cool to begin with. But when he says something like this, it's even cooler. He said, the sales don't matter. What you all did with this program is just good for our company. It shows we can develop big ideas. I absolutely love it. And that's the thing that got our agency excited when we saw that. So that I love to kind of end on that, but I thought I'd be forgetting one thing if I didn't end on something else. We did make a print ad like they actually asked us to. This did not win anything at Cannes. It was pretty straightforward. It leveraged where we had been. We actually kind of changed things halfway through because originally we started with a print ad that they had asked for. But the point is if you don't think outside the box, if you don't break the rules a little bit, then you're going to get stuck with things that are okay, and okay is good, but mediocrity is never what you want to strive for. And if you want to be great, you're going to have to break those rules sometimes. So that's the Ben Moore Fenway Collection case study. I think I have 5 minutes, which I was supposed to have for questions. So I've timed this perfectly. Anybody have any questions?
What do you think you could have done differently with the way that you advertised to bridge the gap from just people being fans and winning awards to actually making the same?
So it's a great question. And if I actually knew the right answer to that, I probably would be in Vegas doing something different. I'm going to give you an excuse first. We didn't really launch things until basically just after the season had started. If we would have gotten ahead of the game, I think more right around now, spring training time, I think that would have helped when people were excited. Once we launched it in earnest, the Red Sox were not doing very well, and I think people were already over the Red Sox, even though they're passionate fans and they love their team. Don't forget, fan is from fanatic, so they are fanatical. We had thought a lot of people were actually going to buy it more as a keepsake. We didn't know that they'd actually use the paint, but it would be more something that you'd buy as almost a piece of memorabilia, and that just felt like it didn't happen. The other thing about paint is it's not something that you do spur of the moment. You decide if you're going to paint something. The season needs to be right. The time needs to be right. So I think if we could have gotten started sooner and helped people plan, regardless of what happened on the field, things might have changed a little bit. And in the end, we may have come up with what we thought was a great idea and a great product, but it just isn't something that was going to sell. We didn't know. They'd never done anything like this before. So we put it all out there. They still have the program, and if for the Boston fans, you can go on to monstereverywhere.com, buy it and have it shipped to you in Lexington right now and paint your room here. But I think it's just something that we realized while we had hoped people were going to buy it in droves, it's not the thing that probably is going to sell the way we had hoped. They also may have had more ambitious goals based on the excitement that we had for the idea.
I know that the CEO said that the sales didn't matter because it was important that you could develop big ideas, but do you think that sometimes it's more important just to get the idea out rather than the sales, or is it all about the sales?
Well, I think if a CFO was up here, they would probably have a very different story. And at the end of the day, it is. I mean, you got to make sure that the register is kind of clicking there. Given where they were, like I mentioned with the marketing department, what they needed as a company, this was the third CEO in 4 years. When this launched, it was a second or third CMO in 3 years. So that was, the circumstances made it very important that an idea was there to kind of help things. I think at the end of the day, agencies are very often guilty of coming up with great ideas, and if they don't sell, they get put aside as creative ideas, but they didn't drive the business. You want to have something that's both. So I think it's critical. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. We're not going to support this probably the way we did, but I actually think they'll still sell probably at the same pace. So over the long run, it may be a really worthwhile program for them.
Rich, can you evolve it so it can go national, where you have foul pole yellow and baseline white?
So we've talked about that. The hardest part with this is Major League Baseball, believe it or not, owns the trademarks to Fenway Park, the Green Monster. It's not the Red Sox and the ownership of the Red Sox. So you have to negotiate with Major League Baseball, which was frankly a huge pain in the ass. They wanted a cut of every gallon of paint that was sold. They wanted a sponsorship fee up front. And for Benjamin Moore, they just don't have the money to do something like that. So we started looking into other, and we're actually in the middle of that right now, other sports marketing activities that we can do on a kind of a lower cost basis from what they'd have to put out from a marketing expense with hopefully a better return on the sales. We're actually looking at colleges.
What kind of pushback did you see from Benjamin Moore to trying to kind of overextend the and what was that relationship like?
We have a great relationship, but initially it was, this seems like a really great idea, but we don't have any money for it. You guys have seen our budgets. You've already asked for more than what we told you we had for the things we need. So it tends to be really budget oriented. It's, I use the example of when you're buying a house. You get a mortgage from the bank, that's what you can afford. And if a realtor shows you a house that's 20% more than that, you might love it, but you can't buy it. So it came down to convincing them that it was a smart enough idea. They needed to find the money from another budget, which is what they wound up doing, which means somebody's going to get pissed off because their money got taken away. So you just need to kind of navigate that. And hope it sells or the CEO has a quote like that.
How successful was the Little League project part of it, and how much does that add to the overall campaign?
So the way it was structured was it was for every gallon of paint sold, there was a portion of the proceeds. So the more we would have sold, the more Little League programs would have benefited. So it was actually only one Little League program that initially benefited because we didn't sell as much as we had hoped. But the press that we got out of that in the local market and the dealer that kind of is in that community thought it was the greatest thing in the world, which is what it was supposed to do. So we kind of leveraged the benefit of an altruistic campaign, but it also went well beyond that with that the one distributor.